This weekend on the original Rochester Press Box.
My name is Pat Duffy from the Breakroom on CMF. I'm going to tell you why if you're looking for the future of the Buffalo Bills. Just take a drive on down to One Bills Drive in Orchard Park.
And I'm John Ditullio. I'll tell you why sportsmanship still has a place in today's game.
And I'm Mike Catalana. For a first time ever, I feel sorry for a Dallas Cowboy.
I'm Bill Pucko, remembering the Rob Ray rule. Join us this weekend on the original Rochester Press Box. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the original Rochester Press Box. I'm Bill Pucko, joined by John Ditullio from WHAM. Johnny.
Can't tell you how great it is to be here with you, Billy.
Yes,
I mean it a lot.
Yes, you can. Mike Catalana is back.
John sitting up straight, too. Yeah, how did he do? He do okay?
John was really good. We were impressed. We're going to have him back.
I want to borrow his voice for the next 20 years.
I hate that kid.
Really?
I hate guys with good voices. That kid was good.
He has
that baritone broadcasting 101 voice.
That is his voice.
Yeah, we bring in a guy with the radio voice, Duffy from the Breakroom at WCMF. Welcome back, second appearance.
Thanks for having me, Johnny. Loving the corduroy pants.
Buddy, let me tell you something. I was with the missus. She said, do it.
The corduroys.
The corduroys. I said, I'm in.
Control of this program.
By the way, I get points for the corduroys. Let me tell
Duffy,
you
let's
something.
talk about Adrian Peterson first. Adrian Peterson, child abuse case is pretty much dismissed in court as a misdemeanor. It's thrown back into the hands of the NFL. With an issue like this, what's the NFL's next move?
I don't know how you can dress him this weekend. He went from the worst human being on the face of the planet 6 weeks ago to every Minnesota Viking player they've talked to this week saying, yeah, we'd love to have him back. He's a great leader. It also comes out that he's been texting the head coach of the Vikings pregame speeches to give to the guys. He's been a part of this team for the time that he wasn't supposed to have any contact. I don't know from a PR standpoint how you put a helmet and pads on this guy and let him play after they come back from the bye week.
What do you think?
I think the NFL has a decision to make. I think there's a point where he's going to be reinstated. I mean, we're taping this on Wednesday. It could happen later in the week. I don't know if it will. I think they almost are forced to. In terms of the Vikings, I think his time with the Vikings is going to be very short-lived. I don't know if he actually comes back and plays this year. He might. I think eventually he's on another team. I think they're going to have to do that. It is different circumstances. Again, this is going to be one of those things where the NFL is going to have to set it as part of the rules. But the truth is he's been suspended in effect for what? 6 games, 7 games, 8 games, whatever it is.
With pay.
With pay. Now, I think he'll eventually come back, and I think he'll eventually be fined, and he'll lose a portion of that money. Mm-hmm. But I think at some point he's going to be back in the NFL.
It's been adjudicated. Whatever we think about Adrian Peterson, whether or not we thought it was child abuse, the courts have now claimed it was only a misdemeanor. So he and his attorney did their job. Number one. Number two, he's already served an 8-game suspension on the commissioner's list with pay. What I've learned from the commissioner is that he is so unpredictable. Yeah. Who knows what he's going to do? I'm looking at either a hefty fine or possibly a 2-game suspension. Now, the Vikings are on a bye week. Would that mean he'd be off this week and then next week? I don't know, but he's back playing. I guarantee he's back playing by Thanksgiving.
You know what I think the league has stumbled into, though, is this commissioner's exempt list, which seemed like just a way to stash guys. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? The Peterson case, it gets adjudicated in the court. He gets to. It seems like they actually now have a framework to deal with all these guys.
They've got right there in front. It's a misdemeanor. Okay, and to bring it back to Ray Rice.
But they're able to take him off the field and public relations and say, we're not advocating any of this. Let the court decide. He gets paid. Everything is it. They found a way to solve, I think, a bigger problem.
Isn't this what happens? And I'm not trying to, but isn't this what happens, say, in school districts too? Doesn't this kind of thing happen where there is an accusation against somebody, and they're put on administrative leave? And they're paid.
With pay.
With pay. And then it gets figured out, and then at a certain point, it's determined a punishment. I'm saying is, I think you're right. I think the NFL has that. Now, going forward, how much of that is part of his punishment? Because 8 games, as far as being 8 games off the field, is a pretty substantial punishment, and then the money part comes into play.
But what you guys just said, I think you're just pushing it off, because the NFL is lining up for a nightmare scenario over the last 3 weeks. Not only could you have Adrian Peterson in pads playing, now you have Goodell going in front of a judge saying everything that he knows about what happened with Ray Rice, and he's either going to perjure himself or tell the truth. And I don't think the truth. I think we can all sit here and realize that truth ain't good. So you're going to have a guy who was accused of hurting a child playing a week before Roger Goodell goes out and says possibly, yeah, I saw a guy hit his fiancée on video and really didn't do anything.
Yeah, but I think in the bigger picture, though, I honestly got a feeling that the NFL has stumbled into something that might work. The Buffalo Bills begin the second half of their football season. We'll talk about the Bills and the rest of the NFL. You're watching the Rochester Press Box. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Time now to discuss the Buffalo Bills, who are hosting Kansas City this week and getting 2.5 points from the Chiefs. Mike, what do you think?
I think the Chiefs, it's funny. Last year they came into Buffalo, and I thought they were overrated, overhyped. They were undefeated, and they played against Jeff Toole, if you remember. And they had that pick, and they ran it back, and that was a winnable game for the Bills. I thought Kansas City was overrated as an undefeated team that people had highly ranked because of their record. I think they're pretty good this year. You look at what they've done recently. Even on the road, they have played really well. The Patriots recovered from them crushing the Patriots, but look at what Kansas City has done since then. They've been competitive in their losses. They've been very solid in their wins. I think this is a tough spot for the Bills against Kansas City. They've shown the ability to go on the road and play well. I like Kansas City to win the game by 4.
Kansas City defensively is solid. Up front, they're as good as anyone. Their offensive line is good, but Alex Smith stinks, and this is the reason why I think he stinks. He's yet to throw a touchdown pass to a wide receiver this year. Think about that for a second. If you don't turn the ball over, you don't get stupid against Kansas City, you will beat the Chiefs. Just don't turn the ball over because the Chiefs are not a juggernaut. Can they run the ball? Sure. Can't throw the ball downfield. They can't. Their game is force turnovers and don't let Alex Smith screw it up. I think it's a perfect remedy for the Bills to beat the Kansas City Chiefs this week. I really think in this game they've got the better quarterback. I am riding the Orton bandwagon. I will take the Bills in this game 20-14.
All righty. Duffy?
Johnny just said it. The Bills are built to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They can't throw well. You beat Alex Smith by moving him off his spot. Well, Buffalo can pressure the quarterback really well. You beat the Chiefs by stopping the running game. Well, Buffalo can stop the run pretty well. And I don't know if you looked lately, that Bills offense, not high-powered. The reason I think Sammy Watkins has been playing so well the last couple of weeks is Scott Chandler's back in the game. You got 2 safeties on the field. You can't double both of them at the same time. If you're going to put a safety on Sammy Watkins, Chandler's coming open over the top.
Yes.
Can I call timeout here?
No, Mike.
This is the first time in the history of any show where anybody has talked about game planning for Scott Chandler.
Am I wrong? Look at what's been happening the last couple of weeks. 4th and 19, 4th and 20, 21-yard gain. Everyone knew it was going to him. Everyone knew it was
Chandler
coming.
actually looks like a legitimate tight end ever since
Can
Kyle
we
Orton
mark
took
the tape
over.
on this? I want this tape marked. I want it marked.
You
right
laugh.
now.
Mark my words.
No, I am laughing.
Mark my words. Chandler will have a touchdown and 70 yards on Sunday.
Okay, that might very well happen.
And who wins?
Oh, Buffalo wins. I'm going to say Buffalo wins by a touchdown.
All righty. I like the fact that the Bills are coming in off a bye and playing at home, but at 4-14 against the spread, who cares what I think really much about anything? And I like the Lions at home giving 2.5 to Miami, which I think is playing a little bit over their skis, is the expression. Got another game for us, guys?
I've got 2, but I'm waffling. I love Seattle to cover against the Giants, but I will take Pittsburgh in New York against, honestly, one of the worst teams in the New York Jets. Jets will have problems moving the ball and scoring. Their crowd will quit on that team probably by the end of the first quarter. Roethlisberger just needs to have a game, not a Big Ben type of game, just any kind of game. They should rout the Jets on Sunday.
I gave him up on my fantasy team just before he threw for 500 yards. Duffy,
Pittsburgh's
who
legit.
else you like?
How about Bears-Packers this weekend? Bears at home, 7.5-point underdogs in their own house. Now, the Bears have looked pretty rough lately, but it's a team that's due for one of those like holy crap games. A divisional game at home is one of those holy crap games. And 7.5 points, you got to take the Bears at home, right?
All righty, I guess. The Bears have burned me all year.
I've been brutal at picking the games. I just have been, so why not? I'll just try again. I'm going to take the Rams getting points from Arizona. Arizona's been outstanding. They keep winning these games. Very solid team. But the Rams have a way of hanging in, especially in division games. They play Seattle tough. They play Arizona tough. They play San Francisco tough. I'm going to take them getting the points.
Yeah, that's an interesting game, I think, especially being at Arizona. My crew, which is doing pretty well, likes the Buffalo Bills, and they are also taking the Steelers. Who else took the Steelers?
I took Pittsburgh.
All right, they're taking the Steelers
you want me
also.
to change my pick?
Giving 4.5. No, this
I'll
is
take
okay.
I'll take the
against the
Seahawks.
New York Jets. Like it or not, win, we return.
And you don't need to be Native American to realize it is offensive. And it's not politically correct. It's the right thing to do.
He was an idiot for throwing him that pitch. The guy's phenomenal. He had no reason to give him anything, especially a fastball to hit.
It's simply that these two guys, Ronaldo and Tom Brady, are too good looking.
I like it, just don't admit to it.
Everybody wants to hate on the best in the world. You know, he's here to stay, and he wants to build something big time.
The bottom line is, still nobody's going to like A-Rod.
Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box, like it or not. Duffy, you're a hockey guy.
Yes.
David Leggio got himself some national publicity by knocking his own net off the moorings while facing a 2-on-none break, forces the penalty shot, and stops the shot. What do we make of this?
I like David Leggio as a person, as an athlete. I think he's gotten a bad rap having to play in the minors all the years that he has. I hate what he did, and I'll tell you why. All the knock I get from my sports friends that aren't hockey fans is this is a joke sport. They change the rules every season. You can't keep up with anything. You know, there's 2 goals a game for 3 seasons. Now it's 8 goals a game, whatever. It's like a circus play. Granted, it's a smart thing to do when you're playing within the rules. I'm an old school hockey guy. I don't like what he did. Just play the game the way it's supposed to be played. Now they're going to have to go in and change the rule like they did when Avery stood in front of Brodeur with his stick and waved it around. Just play hockey, Dave. Come on, play hockey.
That was the thing. That was the last one. I knew there was a hockey rule that they just made up along the way. That was the one.
And
the waving the stick.
It was, if I'm not mistaken, it was in the playoffs, right? And they just changed it the next day?
Oh, with Avery.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
I would say this.
Yeah,
This
you're
is
right.
one thing I will give the NHL. They look at it, and when it comes about, they will correct it. They don't wait any time. I don't think everybody's thinking about what Leggio did. You know, we're just saying, because it has to be a quick decision.
Sure.
He has had it in his mind. If this happens, I'm knocking that net off. He turns around and shoves the net. It was a smart play. I said it's like infield fly rule in baseball. I'm sure at some point when they first did it, no one really thought somebody trying to pretend like they dropped it and then make a play, and then eventually they have
Isn't
to
it
alter
minor
the
league
rule.
hockey at its best?
Well, I mean, slap shot.
Look at
It's slap shot.
Oh, wait a minute. You could have done it in the NHL, too, and it wasn't a violation.
But you
of the rule.
never see it. I mean, really? Have we ever seen anybody?
Well, you don't get 2-on-nones that often.
Very rare.
Well, that's what made me so angry is you earn that 2-on-none. It never happens.
I do want to see more of it in overtime now that they cut back on the players.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't we have to support this guy, though? Because he sat in Duffy's seat once. He was a guest in the
I love
Rochester
him.
Press
He's
Box.
He's a great guy.
One of my best guests I've ever had on the show. Love him.
Like it or not, Joe Madden getting the Cubs job.
I like it because I think Madden has stayed there in Tampa that whole time and has never really threatened to go anywhere. And he says he gave Tampa the opportunity to keep him there. But let's see what he can do. I'm telling you, I like what your old guy in Boston is doing in Chicago. I think that team is going to be really good down the line. And now they've got the manager to go with it. Plus, at the end of his news conference, he offered to buy a shot in the beer for all the reporters. So can't blame him for that. I like the move. I think it's a good move. And I think he deserved the right, like every other guy he's had there, to go somewhere better.
He risks being exposed, I think, because in Tampa, the bar is set so low that
Wait
being
a
a
minute.
good baseball
He's
guy
with
was
the
easy for him to
Cubs.
clear.
Could you get a lower bar than the
Yeah,
Cubs?
because they're now,
Yeah.
The
kids,
expectation.
the expectations are way up on the
Huge.
Cubs.
Expectations are high, but at a place that has had no success.
Yeah, but they're expecting now.
They've got a good farm system. They're spending money too. The Cubs are one of those teams, almost like the Mets. It kills me to say this. They're going to be good in a couple years, and I think the Cubs are on the same path.
Johnny, like it or not, Paul Molitor getting the Twins job.
Who's meant to manage the Twins, isn't it? Paul Molitor? Really? I mean, he's the guy. It's a first-time manager with no experience at all. We saw Kirk Gibson. I know he was a bench coach. We've seen first-time managers do pretty well. Gibson, we've seen Don Mattingly, Robin Ventura, Ryan Sandberg. So this is the trend now. This is the new fad. Hire someone with no managerial experience.
I like what he said, too, about his staff.
Yeah.
He says, I know what I know what I don't know.
Exactly.
Which is how a guy like, and I guess we'll see it soon, a guy like Gene Glynn could end up on his staff because he needs a guy who's been a manager
He's
before.
royalty in the state of Minnesota, Paul Molitor. Guy's royalty.
And Gene Glenn, for my money, I hope he does this, because Gene Glenn, for my money, is the best manager I've ever seen in Rochester. The guy pushes all the right buttons, and he's got the right temperament. It's a good situation. I hope this works out for them. Unfinished business when we return. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box. Time for unfinished business. John.
Two virtues or values that I look for and I've tried to live by. Number one is being a professional. Although I've been accused of being unprofessional, I've always tried to walk that professional line in sportsmanship, right? Those are the two values that I cherish the most. Well, on Saturday, as I got ready to watch the Penn State-Maryland game, I'm all ready to go. I saw something I've never seen in over 40 years of watching any sport. College, high school, and even the NFL and the NHL and NBA all down the road. I saw a college team refuse to shake hands before a game. You want to talk about sportsmanship? 18, 19-year-old kids acting like knuckleheads who take their cue from their head coach who had disrespected Penn State all week, and then when it came time to play, his players not only disrespected Penn State, but disrespected the game. Sportsmanship, 18, 19 years old, I don't care, 30, 35 years old. To me, it still holds a place in today's sports. You'll watch a Stanley Cup playoff game. They'll beat the heck out of one another. And at the end, they all get in line and shake each other's hands. And what bothered me even most is Joey Galloway, who was a stiff, by the way, on ESPN, actually says, I don't know why they shake hands for anyway before the game. They're going to go out there and beat, quote unquote, the hell out of each other. I don't know, Joey. Sportsmanship had a place and still has a place in today's game. And from now on, they will be known as the Maryland Twerps because they acted like a bunch of juvenile kids who took their cue from one of the worst coaches in Randy Edsall. It bothered me, it burned me, and I'm still fired up about it. Sportsmanship, always about the kids. Well, that's why I'm calling them twerps, because they acted like little kids on Saturday afternoon.
It was tough to live with during that game.
Ohio State, Michigan, they'll shake hands. Eagles, Cowboys will shake every rivalry in America. And by the way, you're Maryland. I don't know if this is breaking news. You're Maryland, by the way.
You guys win that game, though. It would have been
Twerps.
such a better
If
story.
anything, I'm going to call them the twerps. And now I always preach hate, and I know I'm going way long. I hate Maryland. I need hate in my
The move
life.
cost him a field goal because the personal foul or
Yeah,
the
15 yards.
For the record, Maryland has leapfrogged Pitt University in terms of my hate.
That's major. Duff, what do you
Good
got?
stuff.
Now we're halfway through the Bills season. Everyone's wondering, what do we do moving forward? Who is the future of the Buffalo Bills? And I'm here to tell you, the future of the Buffalo Bills is already on that Bills roster. Kyle Orton is the future of this team. 31 years old. Everyone's saying, well, this guy's a journeyman quarterback. What the heck? What is he going to do? What are we going to do next year? Do we bring EJ back? Do we draft another guy? There's no need. There's a history of guys who started slow in their NFL careers with minute success, succeeding into their mid-30s. Now, the way the quarterback rules are, into their 40s. Nobody's touching them. I mean, he'll take a shot to the ribs every once in a while, but you can't hit him in the knees. You can't hit him in the head. Jim Plunkett, Kurt Warner, Tommy Maddox. I mean, the list goes on and on. Guys that, in rules where people were getting murdered back in the day, kept their bodies together and kept playing. Now, I don't know if this is an indictment on how the Bills quarterbacks have been playing the last 10, 15 years, but when's the last time you saw a guy in a Bills uniform command the field the way he did, stand in and take shots the way he did, and deliver the ball where it has to be the way he did. 3 years of him, I'll take it, no problem.
And Rich Gannon, by the record,
Yeah.
by the way. Amen, Duff.
When's the
Amen.
last time I saw it? 2011. His name was Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he had a better beard.
And he just beat us.
Right. But I'm saying we have seen this before.
I don't think they
No.
should have let him walk the way he did. How many fans, now before we signed Kyle Orton, how many fans would have killed to have Ryan Fitzpatrick back instead of E.J. Manuel?
Yeah. I think we need a higher scale. Now, he's done well now, but I think we need a higher than the J.P. Lossman scale of quarterbacks. All right, speaking of quarterbacks in their 30s, as you probably have gathered over the last 30 years of hearing me rant about things, I think like most right-thinking Americans, and I dislike the Dallas Cowboys, which I think is what everybody should do.
Right.
Sure.
But I feel sorry for Tony Romo. Tony Romo is, call him anything else, he is a tough dude. He will play hurt. He will go out there. He will try to make plays. What Jerry Jones has done to him and is doing to him is absurd. He had no business putting him back out in that football game against Washington. He then calls him out basically the week of the next game by saying it's about pain tolerance, and then sticks him on a plane to go to the game in London this week with the hopes that he is going to play on Sunday. Let me tell you something. You're playing Jacksonville. It would have been the perfect time to let him sit, let him stay at home, and get him ready for the important games down the rest of the season. For me to feel sorry for anybody on the Dallas Cowboys is a big deal. And Romo may come out today and play great and everything is fine. Jerry Jones is a clown. I think we all know that. And as an Eagles fan and a fan of all right-thinking things in the NFL, I hope Jerry never, ever, ever sells the Dallas Cowboys.
We were talking hockey a while ago with David Leggio's indiscretions in knocking the net off. You know, my favorite one, and I don't know why these are all hockey stories, my favorite one is what Rob Ray used to do. In case you don't know, Rob Ray used to brawl a lot. He perfected the art in Rochester and took it to Buffalo. He was their designated fighter. He would square off with a guy and then would peel his own jersey off and then fight him so you couldn't pull the jersey up over his head. The NHL, as a Leggio, had no response to this except to tell him, don't do that. And then eventually they outlawed it. It says, you can't take your own jersey off. One of the most absurd rules in the sport. That's really something. I said, when a league passes a rule in your honor, you've won. The Rochester Press Box airs on Saturday night and also on Sunday just before the NFL games on Fox 31. Thank you for joining us. John,
Billy.
thank you. Good job.
Great show today,
Mike,
Billy.
Thank you.
Duff, a pleasure to have you back the second time.
I love you guys so much.
And thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next week on the original Rochester Press Box.